Hi, welcome to part 6. So we've managed to get through a fair amount. I've updated my Trello here. We've got the basic level design is kind of done, and I'll show you that in a second. We're kind of looking at tweaking the car code, but I realised we've actually not included the camera control, and it's a lot easier than it seems. So I think the camera control is kind of one of the most important things, so I'll pop it up the top and we'll try and cover these in this tutorial. So we have Unity up and running, so I used a bit of a combination of the progrids for some of the straights, and then just switched off the progrids to try and tweak things. And I had some issues with particularly this one here, joining these up. They don't join up perfectly, so the highest point, the sort of what that is, the curb, doesn't quite fit. But I needed the best bet was just getting that so that the actual road works. Now, because we made a prefab of our car, so we should be able to just simply go to the prefabs and drag the car in, and the camera was the biggest issue. Now, there's a couple of things that we can do. What we could do quite simply is, oh yeah, that's another thing, because we've got this massive amount of huge amount of game objects in here. We should probably try and organize them so we can fold them away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty game object. So I'm just going to say game object create empty, and I'm going to call this level. Just going to put level in the middle of the world, so reset that. And then I'm going to take every single game object. So I'm just going to do not the main camera or the car. Should probably even take the directional light, drag that up to the top here. So drag the directional light up to the top. That way it's not going to get picked, so I can choose that one. Go all the way down to the bottom, hold shift and choose that one, and that's chosen every single bit of the static geometry. I'm going to drag it onto level. What that does is that means I can fold that away right now, so that I can just choose sort of like, I don't need to see all of the level. I can pick the level and in one click I can select them all. The other thing I could do with that is mark them all as static, which you might need if you're going to make nav meshes, or if you want to do baked lighting. So I'll maybe cover that in a later video, but yeah, the camera was the most important thing. So I have this main camera, and you can see it's completely in the wrong position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the camera sort of a position sort of like 45 degrees and quite far away, so something like this. Select the main camera, go to game object, and then align with view. And I showed you that trick before, but that just basically aligns it with the view. The good news with most recent versions of Unity is there's actually a component that you can add to this main camera now that will set its position. It's called a position constraint. If you just start typing in POS position constraint, you'll see it comes up. So position constraint just basically needs a couple of parameters, and then you're good to go. So the one source it requires, so I'm going to take race car green because that's the source. Oh, hit plus first. Then I'll take race car green and put it on there. And then there's some other constraint settings you can muck around with, but as soon as you click activate, then the position constraint means that the car will be the camera will move relative to the car. So if I hit play right now, we should have fixed that camera. So it's doing something, and then I'm hitting play, and I've already crashed. Oh well, I'm still going. So yep, that's not bad. The oh dear. So the controls, oh dear, the controls are really quite tough, and that's probably part of the next video, where we're going to look at some ways that we can make these controls a little bit better. The other thing that you can do if you want to experiment with it is you can make it more or less first person. So this main camera here, if we remove the position constraint and we make the main camera a child of race car green, and then we set this main camera's position, reset that so that it's sort of in the car. I'm just going to move it just above, so we're just above and slightly behind, so like cockpit view, and then when you hit play you'll get a shocking cockpit view of just how difficult this game is to control. So yep, in the next video I'm going to just look at tweaking some of these parameters so that the car is slightly easier to control, because right now it's impossible. Cool, hope you're enjoying the series.